Hello, and thank you for taking the time to be here today. You are likely watching this video because you are ready to transform your health and are ready to learn how to properly cleanse your body and really uplevel your life. So, my name is Anna Mickle, and I am a regenerative health practitioner and detox specialist. And it is my deepest passion in life to educate and empower people with the knowledge that they need to really get to the root cause of symptoms inside of their bodies. And it is so incredibly fulfilling to me and important to me to really help people understand that we have sovereignty over our health and that we really can feel good in our bodies. It is our birthright to feel good and healthy and happy in our bodies. And so, through detoxification of the mind and the body and the spirit, I help my clients really reclaim their vitality and their confidence and help them love their body again and really help them step into their most true, authentic versions of themselves, shedding the density of anything that really isn't them. And what I do is I educate and support my clients about all the stages of the healing journey, helping them understand that we really must address our health from a holistic perspective and address all aspects of ourselves to really get to the root cause of symptoms once and for all. When it comes to bringing the body back into balance, I always say a clean body fixes itself. And if the inside of our body is dirty with chemicals and toxins and old waste, the body will always constantly be trying to put out fires. And that's when we're going to start to feel that inflammation rise in the body. It will constantly be in a state of stress. But if the internal environment inside of the body is clean and free flowing, well, then the body can do the healing work that it innately knows how to do because the body is a self healing organism. And whether we believe it or not, the body is always working for you. So even when we're experiencing unwanted symptoms, it's basically the body's way of trying to bring everything back into a state of balance. So when we have high cholesterol or we get a fever or we're gaining weight and we don't understand why, and among many other symptoms, these are actually all ways that the body is working to protect you, either from toxins, acids, low frequency emotions, things that are trapped inside of the body. And so today I wanted to put together this video to educate you a little bit on why, what is dis-ease? And really, dis-ease is nothing more than a lack of energy flow in the body. So, how do we bring energy flow back into the body? And, where does that start? And that starts with detoxification, the shedding of what is not serving you so that the body can do what it knows how to do. And I always like to emphasize that you are your most potent healer. No one else is going to be your healer. You are. And so once you're empowered with the right knowledge for your health, you can completely transform not only your physical symptoms, but your external world as well. Because once you start to change what's in here, your outer world will change as well. So just a little backstory about me and how I got here, what brings me here. I used to struggle with polycystic ovarian syndrome, so PCOS, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and all the symptoms that come along with PCOS, such as hair loss and fatigue and painful irregular periods, really painful periods, among many other symptoms. And the interesting thing is I always thought I was healthy. I thought I ate healthy. I had always had a passion for wellness. I thought I knew a ton about nutrition because that is what I went to school for. I got my undergrad in public health and health education, but my body was still super inflamed, hence all the symptoms my body was giving me. But I never really truly listened. And what I'm recognizing today is that there are a lot of common but not normal symptoms that people are experiencing right now that we really actually do have the power to change. We just have to understand how the body works and how to do that. And so 2 years ago, I should say 3 years ago, I was introduced to the work of regenerative detoxification. And that made me realize that we make disease more complex than it needs to be. We make cancer and autoimmune and so many other conditions more complex than they need to be. And when I started to notice shifts in my own body after being introduced to the work of detoxification, you know, putting certain micronutrients and superfoods into my diet, certain herbs, making diet changes, I decided to go back to school to really become an expert in this field, in the field of regenerative detoxification and root cause healing. And now I help many people reverse symptoms and conditions in their bodies, all with the power of detox. And so detoxification really is key. It is super foundational. And what I like to share is that there are basically two approaches when it comes to healing, and that is either treatment or detox. And many approaches are treatment based. However, detox is amazing because it is actually removing the problem. It's removing the stuck energy in the body so that the body can do the healing work that it knows how to do. And for me, I saw massive changes in my health when I started this work for myself. It is, I struggled with terrible gut health and terrible cycle health a lot of my life and was always given Band-Aid solutions. And since I was a little girl, lower back pain, constipation, gas, bloating, and so much more, and so much inflammation that has now left my body through this work. And so I just want you to know that your body is intelligent. It is amazing. And we need to give it more credit and just fuel it with the right nutrients and detoxify what no longer serves us so that it can do what it knows how to do. So to jump into the science a little bit, I want to explain that the environment that surrounds all of the cells in our body, and keep in mind we have trillions of cells, that's all that we're made up of, it's actually more important than the DNA information inside of your cells. Meaning, yes, genetics can load the gun per se, but your lifestyle is really what's going to pull the trigger when it comes to your overall wellness. So cleaning up the internal environment inside of your body is really key for the true healing journey. And so I wanted to create this short video for you today to help you understand a little bit more about how the human body works and why we get symptoms in the first place, and give you a few free recommendations on getting started with detoxification and cleaning up the internal environment inside of your own body to start decreasing inflammation and releasing old stagnant toxins in your system. Your body is comprised of trillions of cells and two fluids. So we have the blood system and we have the lymphatic system. And the blood feeds all of your glands and your organs. So your blood is basically the kitchen of the body where all of your food is turned into nutrients, and then the blood transports those nutrients into the cells. And every single part of your body is comprised of cells. So you think about your liver, your kidneys, literally every single part of you is comprised of cells. So how healthy and nourished those cells are is going to determine the overall health of your body. The second system is the lymphatic system. And this is like the bathroom of the body. It's the sewer system of the body. And this is where the majority of attention should really be placed when it comes to dis-ease. Oftentimes, we're not educated on this system. And honestly, 3 years ago, I didn't know anything about the lymphatic system, as many people don't. It's often forgot about. We're not educated properly on why we have a lymphatic system, what that 80% of fluid in our body does, and just how crucial it is for true healing and rebalancing of the body. Oftentimes, blood work is taken when you experience unwanted symptoms in the body. And oftentimes, blood work looks normal, which can be super frustrating when you are dealing with inflammation or trying to get answers for what's going on in your body and your blood work keeps coming back normal. And you're sent out the door still seeking answers or solutions. And this was my story when I was struggling with my ovarian cysts and my severe pain, the IBS, the digestive health, the severe hair loss, and other hormonal imbalances that really no one could get to the bottom of. And I spent thousands on ultrasounds and blood work, and everything always looked normal. They said, well, you're healthy. So go back on birth control, which I did not want to do. And so for years, this was my story. I couldn't get to the bottom of my symptoms because my blood work looked normal. And what I want to share with you today is that the reason this happens is because of the lymph system. So the lymph system is basically designed to take out the trash. Let's say that, take out the trash of the body. So whatever you eat, breathe, touch, put on your skin, it's always going to need to be filtered through the body. And it gets into the lymph system. And that system's job is to basically carry out the waste to the liver and the kidneys to be excreted, and as well as the colon to be excreted out of the body. However, the body can only do so much. So yes, the body is super intelligent, but we are overloaded with so many chemicals in our air, water, food on a daily basis. And so, when we are also eating highly processed foods, high protein foods, we're in contact with chemicals and pesticides, and you're burning fake scented candles at home, if you're using toxic air fresheners, toxic household products, hygiene products, toothpaste with fluoride in it, and so much more. It is a lot for the system to handle and filter out. And so over time, the body gets really stagnated. So as I mentioned, we are in contact with many chemicals and toxins. And even when we're super conscious of what we're ingesting and we're doing everything right, per se, or I shouldn't say right, but we're really conscious, the body still needs assistance with detoxification. So really quickly, I want to dive in a little bit deeper to touch on the elimination pathways of the body. So how our body eliminates waste and why these are so key to change the environment inside of the body. And before I share a PDF, I want to just say one of the most important foundational things that I educate my clients on is kidney filtration. So oftentimes, most of our lives, we're told that having clear urine is healthy and that it means we're hydrated and healthy. But contrary to popular belief, I'm here to tell you that actually cloudy urine with white sediment and little flakes is actually an indicator of healthy kidneys. It's a sign that we're eliminating waste. And when you think about it, it just makes sense. But this isn't something that's often talked about. Our body is designed to excrete lymphatic waste through our urine. So again, this is a sign the kidneys are filtering cellular and lymphatic waste out of the body. And clear urine is actually a sign that you're not properly eliminating waste. And there's waste accumulating in the body and continually backing up in the lymphatic system. So if we have a lot of waste and buildup of acids in the body because they can't leave the body, if we're not pooping 2 to 3 times a day and we have clear urine and, we're dealing with a ton of skin issues, these are all indicators that waste is building up. And the acids will actually start to eat at the cells and tissues in your body. And so I'm going to quickly pull up a photo to show you what your urine should actually look like. And if you want to test this yourself, you can go ahead and just fast for about 12 hours. So you do this at night. So let's say you stop eating at 7 p.m. And then what you can do is test your urine at 7 a.m. Just don't have any food or water in between 7 to 7. If you need to pee in the middle of the night, that's totally okay. That won't ruin the testing results. But then when you wake up in the morning, let's say you test at 7 a.m., Let your pee in a jar, let it sit for, 10, 15 minutes, and then see. Do you see clouds? Do you see sediment? Or can you see straight through the jar? And if it looks completely clear, it's a good sign that the kidneys are struggling to eliminate waste. So, just to briefly share with you a little bit about how the body eliminates waste, the three major pathways are the colon, the kidneys, and the skin. So, as I mentioned, we want to be eliminating through the colon. So, we want to be pooping 2 to 3 times a day. That is a healthy digestive system. One or less times is actually considered constipation. So, when this is happening, we are having continual backup of toxins in the body. And that is going to result in a lot of symptoms down the road if they're not already present in the body, but it's going to make us feel sluggish. It's going to make us not feel great. The kidneys, as I mentioned, so that's, we can test that through what we see in the urine. And then we also have the skin. So the skin will actually act as a third kidney if the body is not properly eliminating waste. So one thing that I typically go through with my clients as well is what your blood pressure can tell you about your health. So, blood pressure is actually giving you a good indicator of, okay, how are the adrenals functioning and how are the kidneys functioning? And the ideal range is to be 120 to 130 over 60 to 70 on the bottom. And both of these numbers, they rise and they fall together. And so when I take a look at someone's blood pressure, it's telling me, are their kidneys and their adrenals overactive or are they underactive? Is there a lot of inflammation in the body? Is what's happening inside of the body? And it gives a really good story uh, for how everything is functioning. But when we look at urine and what urine should actually look like, this is what we want to see. So we're not necessarily talking about color here. We're talking about, are there clouds? Is there sediment? You can see the white sediment in here, and this is actually waste from the lymphatic system. So the more sediment, the more lymphatic waste your body's filtering out, which is exactly what you want. Sometimes you'll see mucus strands. This is great. Maybe some strings, general cloudiness. That's what we want. But if we are able to see directly through the jar, it's a sign that the kidneys need support. When we're thinking about color, we want the color to be we want it to be yellow. We don't want it to be just crystal clear like water. That means we're basically just taking water in and peeing it out and likely flushing out essential minerals. We also don't want it to be super dark because that would mean that you are more dehydrated. So we want it to be just like a nice general yellow, but we want to see clouds and sediment. And then another thing that I just wanted to quickly share with you is that if there are a lot of bubbles in the urine, that is a good sign that there's excess protein in the diet. I hope that was helpful just to give you a brief, super fast overview on what I typically look for when it comes to understanding how my clients' kidneys are working and how well their body is eliminating waste. As humans, our blood sits at a 7.4 pH, and this is not something that can really change. It can deviate maybe just a little bit, but this blood pH must be maintained. And the body maintains it through our own buffer system, as I mentioned earlier. So when the body's too acidic or when we're holding on to too many negative emotions, we're not fully feeling our feelings and things are building up, the body will hold on to excess weight. It'll overproduce cholesterol. It will leach calcium from the bones and cause bone density issues. There's so many things that the body will do to actually protect your cells and the environment in your body when there's too many acids. And it's because it must keep the blood at a 7.4 pH, otherwise we would not be here. So when we eat foods that are nowhere near this pH, we actually start to acidify the body. And when we have too much acid in the body, we are lowering cellular pH and cellular integrity. And when we eat foods, all foods have a pH. So the higher the pH, the higher or the more energetic output that food has. So this is getting a little bit sciencey, but I wanted to give an overview so that you really understand when it comes down to changing the environment inside of the body, it really does have to do with simplicity of like chemistry of acids and bases. And are we ingesting things that are more acid forming or more alkaline forming? And how does that affect the body? And so as food breaks down, it either leaves behind an acid ash or an alkaline ash. And when we consume more acidic foods, these foods leave behind an acid ash. And this ash tends to be nitrogen dominant. And this creates an environment inside of the body that dehydrates and coagulates and makes things sticky and clumpy. And we want our body and our lymphatic system in a state of flow, which is when we're in a state of alkalinity, like our blood sitting at a 7.4 pH, which is alkaline. So when we eat foods that are more alkaline and produce and basically promote the process of alkalization or pH balance in the body, things like fruits and berries and melons and greens, all of these things, right? You think about them, they're hydrating, they're nourishing. You think of walking into a grocery store, right? How do you feel in the produce section? It's lively, it's bright, it's living. How do you feel in a section where there is a lot of dead meat or a lot of boxed foods? It's different. The body responds differently. And life is about balance. However, when it comes to detoxification and eating the majority of foods that are going to keep your body in balance, it is going to be the foods that are alkaline forming, which are your fruits, berries, melons, and greens, things from the earth. So basically, the foods like the whole foods, they are going to leave behind an alkaline ash. And they are dominant in things like calcium and magnesium and potassium. And they are supportive of cellular function. And the cell is then able to carry out normal functions. So I want to quickly show you a chart that shows you just examples of acidic versus alkaline foods, just so you can see the differences between these types of foods. And what I like to say is try to maintain an 80-20 diet. And that's one of the best ways to keep things balanced in your body. So 80% alkaline forming foods, 20% acid forming. So this chart is just to give you a brief example of what foods are more acidic for the human body versus what foods are more alkaline. So one thing I often get asked is, Anna, lemons, aren't they super acidic? Why are they, on the alkaline side of this chart? Well, even though lemons technically are more acidic in nature when they're outside of our bodies, they digest very alkaline in the body. So lemons are actually one of the most alkalizing things that you can eat for your body. So I always tell people, start your morning with lemon water. If you do one thing, if you make one change, just start your morning with lemon water. You're not only going to start to alkalize your body, but you're going to start to flush the liver, flush the digestive system. And your body works so hard at night to bring it back into balance that by, drinking something like coffee first thing in the morning, you're actually just putting straight acid into your body. Whereas if you were to start your morning with lemon water, you're entirely starting, you're supporting that natural detoxification process and are really going to set yourself up for success that day. So things on, the more acidic side of the fence, we think about things like, right, coffee, pork, chicken, beef, pasta, breads, oatmeal, peanuts, eggs, things like that. They are more dehydrating for the body. They don't have a lot of hydration. They don't have a lot of alkalinity. It's more coagulating inside of the body versus things like apples and avocados and dates and grapes and wheatgrass and all of these things. They are going to be hydrating, nourishing. It's exactly what your cells it's exactly what your cells need for cellular energy. So this is just a great example for you to kind of take a look at. There are also emotions and experiences and other things that make our body more acidic versus more alkaline. So if we are in a constant state of worry or we have a lot of anger, we tend towards the emotions of fear or gossip, or we have, these energies inside of our bodies from traumas that we haven't let go or emotions that we haven't felt. This is going to also make the body feel more acidic versus other things that alkalize the body: happiness, laughter, sleep, rest, yoga, movement, pleasure. Um, so it's not just about the foods that you eat. Everything either makes the body more acidic or more alkaline, and either supports the healing process or does not support it. So just to summarize, when you start to eat more living foods like fruits and vegetables and herbs and foods from the earth, you literally start to raise your vibration just by doing this, and you start to cleanse your body of toxins naturally. And so what I typically recommend that people start with is a 30-day reset to really flood the body with micronutrients grown in healthy regenerative soil, to start to also flush chemicals and pesticides from the body to shift the internal terrain. So I will briefly share now a few recommendations that I typically make for my clients to start changing the internal environment inside of the body. So as I mentioned, one of the first recommendations that I make is that my clients do a 30-day reset, basically designed to cleanse and deeply nourish the cells. And so I work with herbs and superfoods that are tested to be 100% chemical and glyphosate free. And so if you've never heard of glyphosate, I want to just briefly touch on that, because I think this is a really important topic that we understand in our world today, because our food system is not what it used to be, let's say 30 years ago. So we're needing to be aware of some of the things that are being introduced into our bodies, whether we recognize them or not. And so glyphosate is actually the main ingredient in Roundup, and it is a water-soluble chemical that's in 75% of our air, water, and food systems. And so it is sprayed on all of the non-organic crops. And it is even in our organic foods, because we can't just wash it off. As I mentioned, it's water soluble. And it started being sprayed in the 70s and 80s. Again, this is, Roundup and all of the other off-brand names that you can think of related to Roundup. And this is, really common. This is in your local Home Depot. This is a weed killer, and it's sprayed on all of the food here in the United States, but it is banned in about 30 other countries. And so it was deemed safe and legal when they rolled it out, because they studied the effects of this chemical, and they noticed that it blocked something called the shikimate pathway in plants, which is how aminos are folded in plants. And because humans don't have this pathway, they thought, oh, well, humans will be okay. However, humans must obtain essential amino acids and micronutrients from plants. There's a big relationship between plants and people. And so what glyphosate does is it kills the microbiome of the soil. And human health and soil health are so intertwined. It's basically killing also the microbiome of our guts, which is like the foundation of our health. And so we are seeing the fastest degradation of the topsoil that we have seen now, in the United States, which actually in the world, which is really scary. So less than 1% of soil today is actually deemed nutrient dense. And it is something we should be talking about more and understanding about more, because it is affecting our world and our health. And so if you've never seen Kiss the Ground, it's a documentary on Netflix that I would also highly recommend. The other thing I want you to understand about glyphosate is that it is patented as an oral antibiotic, meaning it wipes out gut bacteria. So you think about antibiotics, it wipes out good and bad bacteria. So when this is happening in the digestive system on a daily basis, because we are more bacteria than we are cells, this is disrupting communication flow in the body. 80% of hormones are made in the gut. And so if we do not have bacteria for that cellular communication, to communicate with the brain, which then communicates with the rest of the body, we start to have a lot of negative feedback loops. The other thing is that it tears holes in the tight junctions of the gut lining. So it puts stress on our livers, our kidneys, and we're finding misfolded proteins from the plants in the brains of people with, dementia, autism, and so much more. So there is a lot of research on this if you want to learn more about glyphosate. But what the main thing I want to share with you today is that I found a solution. And the solution that I found are regeneratively grown, micronutrient rich superfoods. And it means that every single part of this company's process of farming allows the plants to retain as much nutrition as possible. So, flooding the body with nutrients grown in rich soil with the enzymes and microbes it needs, it can change things dramatically. And the other thing about the company that I found and that I will be recommending in the free recommendations below is that they are organic and tested. So not only are their farming practices out of this world, but they actually test everything for purity and potency. So they not only don't spray everything, right, with chemicals and pesticides, but then they test it before packaging everything, which is a really important part of the process. They also have an herb that is third-party tested to remove 75% of glyphosate in the human body in less than 6 weeks. And so this is another part of the 30-day reset that I recommend so that we can start changing the internal environment of the body and pulling out the toxins that are causing just so much disruption in the first place. And so this company actually did a study, and it was done by checking everyone's urine before and after they did this 30-day reset. And you can imagine how this might impact gut health and someone's health if we're getting this toxic endocrine disrupting chemical out of the body. And so once the body starts to decrease inflammation by making, diet changes and cleaning glyphosate out of the body, it improves gut health, cellular communication. Things start to turn on. We start to see nail growth. We see better skin, hair. Um, Inflammation starts to decrease in all parts of the body. And so the 30-day reset is what I will recommend for you below as a really great starting place just to start detoxing your body effectively, safely, and also enjoyably. And after the 30-day reset, something else that you can consider that is a really great next step, or I would say a more advanced step to move into, is shifting into an even deeper plant-based enzyme cleanse to then start to remove mucoid plaque from the bowels and start to flush the liver of excess fat and start to flush gallstones out of the gallbladder naturally. So what I will do is I will put 2 links for you below to see the recommended products for each of these processes or each of these cleanses. And should you decide you want to move forward with this next step for your health, once purchased, I will reach out to you with a free schedule so you have recipes and you understand and feel supported and guided at all times. And if you'd like very detailed recommendations on your specific health condition or your specific symptoms, please set up a free 30-minute call with me. You can learn about my coaching services. I do support people with one-on-one, deep coaching. I also lead group detoxification classes many times throughout the year as well. And there are also plenty of biohacks that I work with, like molecular hydrogen and redox signaling molecules and stem cell regeneration patches for healthy aging and more to basically repair functionality of the cells, even without diet changes, if you're not ready for diet changes. So if you're looking for other support outside of the suggested links that I have for you below, I invite you to schedule a call with me. I would love to get to know you And I'm happy to help you get started on what feels right for you and your body at this time. Or if you know a loved one that could also use support, please feel free to share this resource with them or share my links with them. And and I would love to chat with them as well. With all of that being said, I hope that this information was helpful for you. I hope that it gave you a good idea of how the human body works and just a few simple things that you can start to do to start shifting the internal terrain inside of your body. I so look forward to you starting your journey and also look forward to supporting you on your journey towards vibrant health.